Tonight, police are looking for the killer who shot 35-year-old Rachel King. The teacher from Elkins Park was driving her 11-year-old son to a violin lesson when she was fatally shot in front of him at this Dunkin drive-thru. The child was in the back seat and not physically injured. It was around 8 this morning at the Melrose Shopping Center just off of Cheltenham Avenue.
A man walked up to a car in broad daylight, said nothing, just raised a gun and fired 6 shots through the driver's window. The woman inside? She was a teacher, a mother. She was waiting on a coffee order. Her baby boy was in the back seat. He saw everything. This wasn't random. This was a hit, and it all started with a breakup and a woman who refused to let go. It was a regular Tuesday in Cheltenham, Pennsylvania. A mom doing what moms do, pulling through Dunkin Donuts before the school run. Her son in the back, probably talking about whatever 11-year-olds talk about. For Rachel King, this was just another morning. Grab the coffee, drop the kid off, get to work, teach her students. Simple. Normal, but normal ended in seconds. A figure approached her Ford Edge, walked right up to the driver's side like he had business there. Then he raised that weapon and unleashed. Bullets tore through the window. Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele didn't sugarcoat it later, called it exactly what it was: a cold-blooded killing, a targeted execution. And her son? He had to sit there and watch his whole world fall apart. Rachel King was 35 years old, a mother who lived for her child, a teacher who changed lives daily, the kind of woman who gave everything to the people around her. Her students didn't just see her as somebody standing at the front of a classroom. She was their champion, their safe space. To her family, she was the center, the heartbeat. And on that April morning, somebody decided she didn't deserve to live anymore. So the question becomes, who hates someone that much? Who looks at a young mother sitting with her child and decides right then, right there, she's gotta go? The answer: girl, it's gonna take you somewhere dark. Jealousy, obsession, betrayal, a whole conspiracy that'll make your stomach turn. You're watching Shadow Crimes TV, where we bring true crime and domestic violence stories out of the shadows. Subscribe now and join us daily as we uncover the cases that demand to be heard. Don't just watch, be part of the conversation. Rachel King's life was built on love, on dedication, on showing up for people, even when it was hard. Her light reached everywhere from the busy hallways of Grover Cleveland Mastery Charter School, all the way to her own home, where her greatest joy was raising her son Jalen. Rachel started teaching in 2014 when she walked into Grover Cleveland, a school sitting in the Tioga Nicetown section of Philadelphia. And listen, she wasn't just another teacher clocking in and clocking out. She was a force, energy, warmth, the kind of person who made you feel seen. Her 7th and 8th graders, they didn't just respect her, they loved her. She wasn't just teaching history, she was making it come alive, turning old events into lessons about courage, about hope, about surviving hard times. Her coworkers called her a shining star. Parents trusted her with their babies. Students said she believed in them even when they couldn't believe in themselves. That's who Rachel was. She showed up, but teaching was just one part of her identity. Being a mother, that was everything. To Jalen, she was the sun. Her Facebook page told the whole story, post after post celebrating him. From the day he was born in October 2011 to every little milestone, every achievement, Rachel was there, proud, present. She was raising that boy solo, giving him everything she had, making sure he had the kind of life every child deserves: stability, joy, love. On paper, Rachel's life looked full. A career that mattered, a son who adored her, a community that respected her presence. But like always, there's more underneath. Rachel had been in a relationship with a man named William Hayes, long term, the kind of relationship that had its ups and downs, but one Rachel had poured herself into. Then 2022 hit, and everything shifted. William started seeing someone else, another woman. Her name was Julie Jean. For Rachel, finding out was a blow, a betrayal. For William, the affair was something he tried to end. He broke things off with Julie, choosing to stay with Rachel. Maybe he thought that was the end of it, that he could move forward and leave the mess behind him. He thought wrong, because Julie Jean, she wasn't letting go. What should have ended with heartbreak and distance turned into something: harassment, stalking, obsession. Julie's calls and texts became relentless. She didn't just blow up William's phone. She started coming for Rachel too. In Julie's mind, Rachel was the problem, the reason William didn't want her anymore, the barrier standing between her and what she thought she deserved. It got so bad that William had to take legal action. He filed for a protection from abuse order, hoping the court could make her stop. But here's the thing about restraining orders: they're just paper. They can warn somebody. They can document the problem, but they can't stop someone who's already decided to harm you. And Julie Jean had decided. Her obsession turned darker. She didn't want reconciliation anymore. She wanted revenge. Rachel King, this woman who'd done nothing but live her life, love her son, and stand by her man, became the target of Julie's rage. The hatred festered. Julie texted constantly. She stalked. She plotted. Every single day, that bitterness grew into something more dangerous. She wasn't just jealous, she was ready to act. And then she found someone who could help her. Someone who could do what she couldn't do herself. His name was Zaki Stephen Al-Hakim, cousin of Julie's baby daddy. A man who wasn't a stranger to violence. To Julie, he became the tool she needed. They started communicating in secret. Julie even saved his number in her phone under a fake name. Just Za. No last name, no trail. They weren't just talking, they were planning. The digital evidence later found was chilling. Photos of Rachel saved and shared between them. A screenshot from Google Maps with Rachel's apartment marked. It was like Rachel's whole life was being turned into a target. Her daily routine studied, her movements tracked. Julie and Zaki weren't just angry, they were preparing. By late March 2023, the plan was moving. On March 30th, 2023, Julie Jean and Zaki Al-Hakim bought a car, a silver Mercury Sable. The paperwork had Julie's name all over it, but let me tell you something, this wasn't for grocery runs or taking the kids to school. This car became their hunting vehicle, the shadow that followed Rachel King everywhere she went. Surveillance cameras caught it all later. Rachel's Ford Edge pulling out of her apartment complex at Linwood Gardens. And right behind her, that Mercury Sable. They weren't just watching her anymore. They were rehearsing, tracking every move, setting the stage for what was coming. For days, they followed her patterns, studied her life like it was homework. And Rachel, she had no clue. No reason to think somebody was out there hunting her down. She was focused on her students, on Jalen, on building the life she wanted for both of them. She woke up early, dropped her son off for violin lessons, grabbed coffee on the way to work. Just normal routines. everyday errands. But to Julie and Zaki, those routines were opportunities. Think about how heavy that is. While Rachel was laughing with her son, grading papers, planning lessons that inspired her students, someone was out there watching. Somebody was plotting how to take it all away. Rachel had no idea that Julie's obsession had crossed into conspiracy, that her photo was saved in someone's phone like she was prey, that her own home had been pinned on a map so her killers could find her. By April, everything was ready. The car was purchased. The target had been studied. Julie Jean's jealousy had transformed into something lethal, and with Zaki al-Hakim by her side, she finally had the means to act. April 11th, 2023. Rachel woke up thinking it was just another busy day. She got Jalen ready, the two of them heading out together like they always did. For Rachel, the rhythm was familiar. Drop Jalen off for his violin lesson, swing by Dunkin for coffee, then head to school. Simple. She didn't know that every single step of that routine had already been mapped out by the people who wanted her dead. Her Ford Edge pulled into the Dunkin Donuts drive-thru in Cheltenham Township. Jalen sat in the back seat, probably thinking about his lesson, completely unaware of the danger sitting just yards away. Rachel placed her order. Maybe she was thinking about her students or what she needed to get done that day. Just normal thoughts on a normal morning. She had no idea another car had pulled in nearby. That silver Mercury Sable, bought just days earlier in Julie Jean's name. Surveillance would later show exactly what happened next. Al-Hakim parked, stepped out of that Sable, and walked straight toward Rachel's vehicle. He didn't say a word, no warning, no demand, nothing. In a split second, he raised the gun and fired. 6 shots ripped through the driver's side window. The sound echoed across that parking lot, shattering what should have been just another Tuesday morning. Rachel slumped over, lifeless in her seat, struck down right in front of the one person she loved more than anything in this world. Her son, 11-year-old Jalen, watched in frozen horror as the mother who had been his entire world was ripped away in an instant. A child's innocence destroyed in the cruelest way you can imagine. The Ford Edge rolled forward, lurching onto a patch of grass while bystanders screamed and scattered. Within minutes, police flooded the scene, but for Rachel it was already too late. In broad daylight, at a drive-thru, in front of her son, a beloved mother and teacher had been executed. The investigation started immediately. Detectives swarmed the scene, collecting evidence. They found 6 9mm shell casings scattered near Rachel's car. Witnesses described a slim man running east in a light-colored sedan, details that matched up perfectly with that Mercury Sable that had been shadowing her for days.
The police are still looking for answers tonight in a shocking drive-thru murder this morning in Cheltenham. A 35-year-old woman shot and killed while sitting in her car at Dunkin Donuts. Her 11-year-old son in the back seat. Investigators desperately trying to determine why she was targeted. The search continues for the gunman who shot and killed mother and teacher Rachel King in broad daylight.
Neighbors across the street here say that they heard those gunshots this morning. At this hour, police are still looking for that shooter, and they're trying to figure out who would kill this beloved teacher. Take a close look at this vehicle. Police say it belongs to the shooter who walked up to King's vehicle, did not say a word, and fired. Investigators believe this was a targeted attack.
Technology gave investigators the breakthrough they needed. Through something called the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, Nubbin ballistics experts linked those shell casings from Rachel's murder to another homicide that happened just 4 days earlier in Philadelphia. Same gun, same killer. When they searched Al-Hakim's phone later, detectives found a photo of a ghost gun. Prosecutors said it was the same weapon that tied him directly to both killings, but the evidence didn't stop there. Digital forensics exposed the entire conspiracy between Julie and Zaki. Text messages had been deleted, but investigators recovered them anyway. And what they found painted a disturbing picture of their communication in the weeks before the murder. Julie had saved Zaki's number under Za. She'd shared Rachel's photo with him. And here's the part that's gonna make you sick. On the very day Rachel was killed, Julie sent Zaki a $5 Cash App payment with an emoji attached. Prosecutors argued it was a signal, a meetup confirmation, a warning to stop using phones and communicate in person. Surveillance footage showed that Mercury Sable following Rachel's Ford Edge from her apartment that morning. Police pieced the whole timeline together through cameras, phone pings, and those recovered messages. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a moment of rage. This was stalking, planning, execution. And when officers finally moved in to arrest Al-Hakim, he didn't surrender quietly. A high-speed chase tore through the streets of Philadelphia as he tried desperately to escape in that same Mercury Sable that carried him to Rachel's last moments. The pursuit ended when he crashed into a fence on 16th Street. Zaki Al-Hakim was pulled from the wreckage and taken into custody. With the gunman caught and the digital trail connecting everything back to Julie Jean, prosecutors moved fast. On April 26, 2023, Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele announced charges against both Jean and Al-Hakim: first-degree murder, third-degree murder, criminal conspiracy.
A family and a community are heartbroken and grieving after the murder of an adored local teacher.
This was like her favorite time, like getting into spring, the summer, because then she could wear her bright colors. She just was bright. Like every flower I see is a hot pink or orange, just makes me think of her.
King was a beloved teacher at Mastery Charter School's Grover Cleveland campus in Tioga Nicetown. Staff and students there today held a ceremony for her and invited her family.
It was really nice, and I think it was as bright and beautiful as my sister was.
Now King says he is focused on healing, letting the authorities complete their investigation, and he hopes those committing gun violence put the guns down.
At the press conference, Steele didn't hold back. He called it exactly what it was: a cold-blooded killing, a targeted murder of an innocent person, planned by these two defendants and carried out in front of King's son in the most horrific way possible. For Rachel's family, the arrest brought some relief. The monsters, and that's what people were calling them, were behind bars, but it wasn't the kind of closure anybody wanted. Rachel was still gone. Her son was still without a mother. Her students were still without the teacher who had changed their lives. Justice could be pursued in a courtroom, but grief, that was permanent. In the days after Rachel's murder, Grover Cleveland School became a place of mourning. Students left flowers on her desk. They wrote tributes about her smile, her kindness, how she made them feel seen. They talked about a teacher who was truly irreplaceable. For her family, especially for Jalen, the void was permanent. A boy forced to grow up without the mother who had been his entire world.
Today, the Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele identified 35-year-old Julie Jean as the mastermind behind this brutal killing and 33-year-old Zaki Al-Hakim as the shooter. Both are charged with murder and conspiracy in the death of 35-year-old Rachel King, killed in cold blood in this Cheltenham Dunkin Donuts drive-thru April 11th.
It was a murder for hire. It is a horrific killing of an innocent young teacher in front of her 11-year-old son.
He obtained a protection from abuse order in December after Jean allegedly continued to harass both Hayes and the victim. But it didn't stop there. Officials say Jean then reached out to Al-Hakim, plotted and planned to murder King, exchanging pictures of King and maps of her home. The DA said they purchased a ghost gun and a car to follow and stalk King. Ballistic evidence would later connect King's murder to shell casings collected in a Philadelphia murder that happened 4 days prior on the 5100 block of North Broad Street.
We didn't recover the gun, but we recovered a photo that our experts say it's consistent with the gun that was used in both murders.
And between the two defendants, investigators say that they recovered hundreds of deleted pictures, text messages, and also information about a Cash App payment.
Rachel King should have been in her classroom that morning. She should have been smiling as her students walked in, ready to guide them through another day of lessons and laughter. Instead, her name was tied to a case built on obsession and cruelty. Her life ended by a conspiracy that started with jealousy and ended in murder. By the spring of 2024, nearly a year had passed since Rachel King's life was stolen in front of her young son. Her family, her students, her community, they'd all endured months of grief, waiting for the moment when justice would finally be pursued in a court of law. That moment came in March 2024, when both Julie Jean and Zaki Stephen Al-Hakim stood trial for Rachel's murder. Inside that courtroom, the story investigators had painstakingly pieced together was laid out for the jury to see. Prosecutors walked them through the conspiracy step by step. The surveillance footage showing that silver Mercury Sable trailing Rachel's car, the phone records and deleted texts that exposed the connection between Julie and Zaki, that $5 Cash App transfer with the cryptic emoji sent on the very day of the murder. They presented the Google Maps screenshot with Rachel's apartment pinned, the photo of Rachel saved on Julie's phone, the ballistics evidence tying Al-Hakim's weapon not only to Rachel's death, but to another killing just days before. Even the paperwork from the Mercury Sable purchase signed in Julie's name became a crucial piece of the puzzle, proof that this was planned, not impulsive. The defense? They had almost nothing. Their strategies were thin, unable to counter the sheer weight of the evidence stacked against them. Witness accounts, surveillance video, digital footprints, financial transactions, everything pointed in one direction. This was no accident, no misunderstanding. This was deliberate, calculated. The prosecution echoed the same words. District Attorney Kevin Steele had spoken nearly a year earlier. This was a cold-blooded killing, a targeted murder carried out in front of her son. Those words hung heavy in that courtroom, reminding everyone, not just of the evidence, but of the human cost. A boy who would carry the memory of what he saw for the rest of his life. When the case was finally handed to the jury, the outcome was swift. After less than an hour of deliberation, they returned with their verdict: guilty on all counts. For Rachel's family, for her students, for the community that had mourned her so deeply, it was a moment of both justice and sorrow. The people responsible for tearing Rachel from their lives would never walk free again. The sentence was mandatory and final. Life in prison without the possibility of parole for both Julie Jean and Zaki Stephen Al-Hakim.
A man and a woman have been found guilty in the murder-for-hire plot of killing a Philadelphia teacher. That verdict was just handed down by jurors. Took them less than an hour to convict Julie Jean and Zaki Al-Hakim in the killing that happened last April.
Members say justice has been served here today. It was about 45 minutes is what it took those jurors to convict the pair in the murder of Rachel King last April. 34-year-old Zaki Al-Hakim and 35-year-old Julie Jean will now spend life in prison. We talked to King's parents right after the verdict and the sentencing. They thanked police officers, the DA, and also had this to say.
We're thankful to God for just giving us the strength to go through this. And today is a day of victory for Rachel, a day of victory.
I'm relieved, grateful. I'm saddened. Honestly, there really were no winners today. This was not a winning situation at all. My daughter is gone. This does not bring her back.
It had been a very emotional trial, and King's family and friends had been in court every day. King's sister said she couldn't wait to get home to her nephew, King's son.
My God, I cannot wait to hold that little boy and tell him that the people who murdered his mother have been held accountable.
It was a decisive end to the trial, but it could never undo the crime. No verdict, no sentence, no words from the judge could give Rachel King back to her son, or restore her presence to the classroom where she'd been a light. The justice system had spoken, but the loss remained deep, permanent, devastating. Rachel's story is more than just a tragedy. It's a warning. Jealousy born from an affair turned into lethal violence. A protective order couldn't stop the danger. Technology, texts, Cash App, Google Maps revealed the chilling precision of a plan fueled by hate. How does a grudge and $5 sent with an emoji cost a child his mother? Rachel King should still be here, teaching, laughing, loving her son. Instead, her name is now a reminder of the dangers of obsession and the devastating failures to protect victims before it's too late. The silence that follows her story is heavy, filled with the weight of Jalen's loss and a call for all of us to do better. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We bring you true crime stories daily, cases you know and ones you don't. Stay with us as we shine a light on shadowed stories that need to be heard, because every victim deserves to have their story told.